Hey guys, quick announcement before we start. I'm going to VidCon again this year. The YouTube convention is being held in Anaheim this week and I'm going to be there, meeting up with some fans and friends on Friday. I may even be doing a live stream or two while I'm there, probably on my second channel, No Bullshit 2. I will also be keeping you guys updated about everything on my Twitter account, @BrooksHeatherly. Links to that and my second channel are below. Make sure you follow and subscribe to both to keep in touch. And if you're going to be there at VidCon on that day, Friday, June 22nd, look out for me. I'll be the big guy with the curly hair. And also keep track of my tweets, and I'll even be posting when and where I'll be having a meetup. It's going to be fun and I'm greatly looking forward to it. See you guys there soon. Now, let's get on to the show. Hello and welcome back to No Bullshit. Today we're talking about our least favorite MSNBC news anchor, Rachel Maddow again. This time, instead of sticking with the Russia conspiracy theory like she was last week, this time Rachel has actually stumbled upon a real-life, real-world issue: illegal immigration. Our southern border here in America has been a joke for a while now, which is why during the election, Trump ran with the promise of building a wall there. Unfortunately, the Don's been met with resistance and outright defiance from the Democrats on this issue. Frankly, they don't want to stop illegal immigration. Democrats want the illegal so they can get here and give them driver's license and make them vote Democrat in the next elections. California has already given over 1 million illegals licenses in hopes to get them voting blue by the 2018 elections coming up, which have been rolling out now and over the next couple of months. So with that said, it should really be no surprise that the mainstream media is rallying the troops and pushing for more illegal immigration now. And that brings us back to Rachel Maddow, who made a fool of herself last night on her own show. Rach was doing her best to push out some crocodile tears when she heard a report about kids supposedly being separated from their parents at the border. Check this shit out.
The AP has just broken some new news. This has just come out from the Associated Press. This is incredible. Trump administration officials have been sending babies and other young children. Oh, hold on.
Get a grip, Rachel. Jesus Christ. Just hearing the words Trump and babies is all it takes to get this seasoned reporter crying like a baby. But don't worry, we're going to go over this whole child separation angle and why it's bullshit soon. But first, let's talk about Rachel and why a grown-ass 45-year-old woman is crying on TV like this. Well, there is the obvious reason, of course. She's trying to emotionally manipulate her viewers. She wants people to hate Trump like she does, so she's feigning this over-the-top sadness. This is also a classic girl move, by the way. I know Rachel may look like a man, but she's still a woman deep down inside. And most women can cry at a moment's notice, and they love to use their tears to get their way. But the next explanation for this isn't as much fun, unfortunately. Rachel Maddow has confirmed publicly that she's dealt with cyclical depression since puberty, and this does help explain her mood swings lately. Ever since Trump won the election, Maddow has been on the edge. In fact, she also cried live on TV that night as well, when the election results came in.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again.
And it looks like her emotional state has only gotten worse since 2016. Looking at this Wikipedia article, there's a quote here from a 2012 interview in which Rachel stated this about her depression: "It doesn't take away from my joy or my work or my energy, but coping with depression is something that is part of the everyday way that I live, and have lived for as long as I can remember." Now, while this is sad and unfortunate, it also helps explain a lot. Back then, back in 2012, during the reign of Barack Hussein Obama, Rachel was able to keep her shit together. She was happy then even. Democrats were in charge and Obama was pushing the gay agenda and everything. Those were the happy days to be a libtard, but once Trump won, that party was over. And ever since then, Rachel has been breaking down more and more each day.
3 tender age shelters in South Texas. Lawyers and medical providers. Just, I think I'm gonna have to hand this off. Yeah. Sorry. That does it for us tonight. We'll see you again tomorrow. Now it is time for The Last Word with Lawrence O'Donnell, where he is live in Brownsville, Texas.
Simply embarrassing. Whether Rachel is actually having a breakdown or is just being emotionally manipulative is up to you. But either way, what the left is doing here is definitely the same old trick they've been pulling time and time again. They're exploiting children in order to push their agendas. And every time they do it, I can't help but think of that old joke from The Simpsons show.
Won't somebody please think of the children?
Hillary Clinton did this same thing, this whole "but think of the children" bit, during her election bid in 2016. She even made her own little shitty over-the-top commercial with kids in it and everything. I actually did a video on it way back then, link below, but here's a clip so you can see what I'm talking about.
And you can tell them to go themselves.
Again, no context. Who is Trump telling to go fuck themselves? Could be anyone. It's probably criminals, murderers, or ISIS or something. And those people should go fuck themselves. Now I get what this ad is going for here. They're cherry picking Trump quotes and clashing them with kids watching to try and pull out our fee-fees. Oh, I don't want my kids to listen to a man like that. That's not PC. This is bullshit. First of all, kids don't watch this crap. And second, they've probably seen way worse on TV or the internet. And that was back in 2016, of course. And now, in the present, back to current year, 2018, and we've got Democrats doing the same old trick again. Twice, actually, this year. Besides this new child separation angle for illegal immigration, which we'll get back to soon, well, I don't know how people are forgetting the last issue the left pushed with kids. Just a few months ago. Gun control, of course. Following some admittedly tragic shootings a few months back, immediately following that, Democrats came out in full force, trying to take our guns away. And how did they do it this year? Well, the same way they've done everything lately. They exploited children to try and emotionally manipulate the public. How could we forget the months and months of David Hogg and Emma Gonzalez being propped up everywhere, on TV and the internet? These teenagers turned activists who came to the spotlight after surviving the shooting at their high school in Parkland, Florida. Well, these kids are just another example of Democrats using children to try and push their agendas. These two were in interviews, news reports, on Facebook and Twitter, and everywhere. Everywhere that had a screen saw Hogg and Gonzalez pushing for gun control, aka taking away our Second Amendment right. But both of these kids actually turned out to be pretty awful and entitled. By the way, I really don't know why anyone would listen to high school dropouts in the first place, especially about gun legislation, but here we are. Plus, I don't know if you noticed, but Hogg has gone off the deep end lately, online. He's really been milking his 15 minutes of fame on Twitter. He's even called for Laura Ingram's news show to lose its sponsors. Twice. Oh, and Emma Gonzalez, the other one, she even admitted to bullying the shooter since middle school. Check this clip out.
Since he was in middle school, it was no surprise to anyone who knew him to hear that he was the shooter. Those talking about how we should have not ostracized him, you didn't know this kid! Okay, we did!
I think ostracized is a euphemism for excluding the guy and making him feel like shit for years. Not to say it was Emma's fault or anything, nor am I saying the shooter is justified, but you gotta admit, propping up one of the bullies who obviously hated the kid is a bit much and kinda troubling. And now back to the present, where we got another issue in which the left is using kids to try and get their way. Kids which I'm pretty sure the Democrats don't really care about. If they were really worried about child separation at the border, this issue would have come up years ago. There's nothing new about the policies at the border right now. The Trump administration is just enforcing laws which President Bill Clinton set up years ago, and which President Bush and then Obama carried out for years as well. Hell, most of the pics going around the media, the ones with the kids at the border trying to pull at your heartstrings, well, those pics are from 4 years ago, 2014, when Obama was president. So why is this a big issue now then? Well, of course, it has to do with Trump and trying to slander him and make him look like this big, bad, awful villain who hates kids. And then the next step is what I was saying before. The Democrats want even more lax immigration policies, so more illegals can get in and vote for them in upcoming elections. I mean, does anyone really think Rachel Maddow is doing this for the kids? Or she really even cares about them? I frankly can't believe this fake act she's been putting on this week. Like, we're really supposed to think Rachel is doing this out of the kindness of her heart? Oh, please. There's millions of American kids living in poverty and struggling to survive right now, in our country already. Where's the help been for them? Seems pretty convenient to only start caring about illegal kids now, when it's convenient for you, Rachel. I mean, if Rachel really cared about children so much, why doesn't she have any kids of her own then? She's a 45-year-old who's been in a committed relationship since 1999. That's over 18 years and still no kids. Zippo. Nada. Granted, they are lesbians, of course, and it's not biologically possible for them to have kids, but they could adopt. They could get a surrogate or something, but no. Maddow obviously chose to not have children, and that should be fine, but seeing her tear up about kids now does seem a little odd, all things considered. Next, let's talk more about the big issue here. Trump supposedly separating kids from parents at the border, but as we went over before, these are long-standing policies that have been around forever. And that's not even mentioning the implication that Trump is out there ripping kids apart from their poor, innocent parents. Well, first of all, Trump has had very little to do with this policy. Like I said, it was in place before his administration, and it's being enacted by police and border patrol. And while these law enforcement agencies are under the president's control down the line, let's not pretend he's out there giving direct orders to separate families. Everyone is just doing their jobs here, and there's really no problem with what's going on either. That brings us to the poor, innocent parents part of the story, who supposedly didn't do nothing, according to the Democrats. Except they did do something. They're trying to enter a country illegally. They're criminals and they're being treated accordingly. So while it's very unfortunate criminals are getting separated from their kids, it's also just part of keeping law and order alive out there. If a parent robs a liquor store, they lose their kids. If they commit fraud or lie under oath, they go to jail and lose their kids too. So if you get caught trying to cross the Rio Grande illegally, then yeah, that means you're going to lose your kids as well. Sorry, but if these parents wanted to keep their children, they should keep themselves from breaking the law. Next, let's go over another left-wing tactic at play here. After they complain about kids being separated, they then pivot to talk about the facilities they're kept in, comparing their housing and detainment facilities to concentration camps in Nazi Germany. Pretty ridiculous. Check this shit out.
I walked down that railroad siding where the families were separated, and that's why I used that picture. Now look, I know we're not Nazi Germany, all right, but there is a commonality there.
This is the United States of America. It isn't Nazi Germany, and there's a difference. And we don't take children from their parents until now.
Except you did do this before. The country has had this policy for ages. The only reason there's a big fuss about it now is, like I said before, so they can attack Trump and get votes. But don't take my word for it. Let's see what the General Jeff Sessions here says about it himself.
Nazi Germany, they were keeping the Jews from leaving the country, but this is a serious matter. We need to think it through, be rational and thoughtful about it. We want to allow asylum for people who qualify for it, but people who want economic migration for their personal financial benefit and what they think is their family's benefit is not a basis for a claim of asylum.
Good point, Jeff. Nazis were trying to keep the Jews and others from leaving their country, and then they killed them. While the US is currently trying to keep illegals out of our country, and we're keeping them alive and fed and clothed. Big difference. Also, just because some family from Mexico wants a better life, that doesn't mean they can make a fake claim of asylum and try and cheat their way into our country. Asylum requests are meant to help political prisoners, and people who are really genuinely being persecuted and kept down by harsh regimes. And basically, what's happening now is, every illegal and their mother is claiming asylum, and they've been taught what to say and do to cheat the system and get it. Probably taught this by other criminals or Democrats, let's be honest. So to be clear, right of asylum is not for every single person who wants a job coming from South America. It doesn't work like that. And as we've seen, it's pretty obvious these Nazi concentration camp comparisons are way off. And we haven't even gotten to see the actual facilities yet. Sure, the left has shared some fake pics of fences and gates and cages and other propaganda. There was even a fake pic of a kid in a little cage crying. This was staged, of course, at a Democrat-led protest about immigration on June 10th. I guess what the detainment areas really looked like wasn't shocking or terrible enough to fit this left-wing agenda, but the actual detainment facilities are rather nice when you get a real look at them. Check these pics out. The kids have their own beds, they get clothes, and even food given to them regularly. And this is certainly worlds nicer and better than the care the criminal parents were giving their kids in their home countries. There's a reason why they left those shitholes, folks. It was so they could come to the United States and get pampered. Fox News host Laura Ingraham even went so far as to call these facilities summer camps, a comment which she's currently getting lots of flack for.
Unless you'd be swayed by the media reports that the children are housed in concentration camps or cages, the truth is the U.S. taxpayer is spending a lot on the care of these children. Nearly $35,000 per year per child. They actually have a higher standard of living than the 13 million American children today currently living below the poverty line.
But I have to say, I kind of agree. And I'm certainly going to be taking Laura Ingraham's word about this over Rachel fucking Maddow. You know how I know Laura actually cares about children? Because she has adopted and raised 3 kids of her own. Laura isn't some creepy lesbian who pretends to care for kids when it fits her agenda. No, Laura is the real deal, and I think she's right on this one. These detainment facilities aren't concentration camps at all. And compared to where these people came from, they might as well be 5-star resorts. So, needless to say, this is yet again another propaganda tactic where the Democrats are exploiting the plight of children in order to try and get their way. It's sad, it's pathetic, and just plain wrong. In the end, it is sad, but we really shouldn't be surprised at seeing this vile behavior from left-wingers at this point. They've become so desperate for power and political relevance, they're lying and exploiting children on TV. And I know calling the detainment facilities concentration camps makes for good ratings, but it's just not true. And I'd much rather live in reality than in some bullshit liberal fantasy. It's also really awful to see Rachel Maddow breaking down over this, or fake breaking breaking down as many suspect. Either way, we're clearly looking at a troubled individual here. Maddow is an aging, childless lesbian who lies and pretends to cry about kids getting separated from their parents at the border, when really I'd say those kids are probably better off without those shitty parents. It's the lying and the criminal behavior the parents exhibited that got their families here in the first place. So really, if anyone should be chastised here, it's not ICE or the Border Patrol or President Trump. It's the low-life degenerate parents who put their kids in this horrible situation, not us. On top of that, why does the left want to bring in unlimited immigration anyway? All that's going to do is temporarily fix these families' lives in the short term. All the while it's going to make our country shittier in the long term. And I say if the Democrats really cared about these people, they should go and try and fix their countries first, instead of bringing them all here and making our country worse. What do you guys think? Was Rachel Maddow breaking down, or is she just putting on a wannabe Oscar-nominated performance that looks like it's a scene straight out of a soap opera? And what do you think about liberals exploiting children for their causes? Is child separation really an issue, or is it just the Border Patrol doing their job? Comment your thoughts on everything below, and thanks for watching No Bullshit. See y'all next time.